Good afternoon. Welcome to the Sami Parvez show. I'm joined by my buddy, my friend from beautiful Grand Prairie. How are you doing, Donovan?
Sammy, I'm doing well. It's snowing right now. It's like -9. I think this is the first time that it's slightly warmer in Grand Prairie versus your side of things. It's been pretty cold, but we're having I think a snowfall warning, so we might get about 20
Mm.
centimeters of snow. But it's good, That's what Canada's about. Canada's all about the snow, Sammy. So we'll keep on trucking. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, but I have flu and cough.
Oh
So it
no.
seems like I was sick like few days ago. Yeah, I'm just like that weather is changing, so it's changing on my body too. So maybe my voice is not all right. You can feel the sound. Other than that, everything is fine, and hopefully we would have a good chat this afternoon. And sorry, folks, we supposed to start at 12, but unfortunately, due to some consequences, we could not make it. And we just try to make a suitable time best work for us and also for the viewers. We will see like how it works today. And how is the preparation of Christmas? It seems like you are doing lots of volunteer work at this time.
I am Sammy. Yes, I've just been all over the place. I'm performing in uh old folks homes, playing music there. I'm doing a lot of volunteers. It's a lot. It's a lot of things. It seems like every day I'm doing something. So
Yeah.
tomorrow I'm doing a volunteer thing at the casino for the music society that I'm in to make some money there. So it's just there's a lot. So I'm very excited. I think next week, well, I was just telling you, but I'm going to be traveling down to Ontario to visit my
Yeah.
wife's family.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how the show goes. But I think if you want to do it solo, and then I can see if I can sneak in, we'll make it work. Um, but I can't wait to not have to do anything for at least 2 days because it just seems like every day I'm doing something else, and I just want to go. I want to go home when the sun's still up. I haven't actually done that yet. I'm usually getting home at around 10 p.m. and
Wow.
then I leave at 6 in the morning, and then I do it all over again. So it'll be nice to uh, hopefully one day be able to relax. But that's the time of the season. Lots of concerts, lots of volunteering opportunities, and making the community better. So it is a lot of work, but it's good work, Sammy. It's good work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Like I appreciate it, and despite all that, you take time for the Sami Parvez show.
Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world, Sammy.
Yeah, I know. Like you said this for uh many times. You said that you don't miss it for the world. And you are coming by plane or you are by road?
So we're gonna drive down from Grand Prairie to Edmonton,
Mm.
because the flights from Grand Prairie to Edmonton are like it's like $600 just
Wow.
for that little 1 hour flight.
Yeah.
Versus the drive down gas is about $1.40 right now up here.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, drive down that'll be about a tank. So like $75. Drive down and then just go to the airport. So that
Yeah.
just works. That works out a little
Yeah,
bit
it is
better in the
better
long
to
run.
save something.
Save some money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about politics. Like, let's begin with Canada Post strike. And yesterday, Labor Minister Steve McKinnon asked Canada Industrial Relations Board to step in, like, I mean, force workers to back to work. So I need to know, like, as you are living in a rural area, how much did it affect you personally, this Canada Post and your neighbors or family member? Like, how much this strike is affecting
Well, we
a
don't
rural area?
have, yeah, so we don't have physical addresses. We have PO boxes that are Canada Post PO boxes. So that's where we go to our rural route. So yeah, we haven't gotten any mail. So that includes anything that's been sent, anything that's been shipped. Purelator can get, there are a couple of Purelator spots to pick up in like the town that I'm in. But it's very few and far between. So yeah, it has affected it quite a bit. A lot of Christmas cards and whatnot that I'd usually get
Hmm. Yep.
sending out, not going to happen this year. I had a student actually ask me about the on Wednesday. They asked me when do you think the strike's going to end? And I said it would probably that the labor board's going to step in next week, and then that's exactly what happened. Um, because I think it's
Hmm.
getting too close, and I think that at this point they just need to the government. It's one of the yeah they're going to step in regardless of how you feel about labor relations and labor discussion. Uh, uh, there's it seems like nobody's making any progress, and I think at that point binding arbitration will take place, and we'll pitter patter get back at her. But yeah, it has been affecting rural areas quite a bit more than some city places. I know some folks in the city are like, they didn't even notice, unless you're a small business, because Canada Post is obviously cheaper than
Hmm.
FedEx and whatnot. So that's no good.
Yeah.
But yeah, out here rural wise, yeah, it's very isolating. It's very you don't get any mail, and it's a little different. So it certainly is creating a significant impact, at least out here.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was like I requested for a replacement of my credit card like last month. I did not get it. So earlier this month I gave a call to RBC like I need to get my credit card. They said it is affecting due to a strike. I think then they sent it via Puro later, so I got it within like 5 business days. So it was nice. Like it means people are struggling. Though if you are living in rural area or suburban, everywhere, wherever you need it, and particularly small businesses are being affected very well from this strike. So let's dig in on Canada Post strike. But is it all because of like those worker needs more right, or it is all because of those union? Like is how do you see? I know like maybe you are right now you are in union or you have been in union, but uh, do unions work for the workers or they work for themselves? Like like when the workers get a raise, so they make more money, like particularly union, then they pay more to the union.
I am extremely pro union, Sammy. So listen, it's like, yeah, obviously, but like, what's Canada Post working for, right? Like, it's so we can sit down and talk about like, oh, the union's only working for, well, yeah, technically that's kind of what's taking place, and that's why the give and take occurs, and that's why you have a union, and that's why you should always have a union,
Mhm.
regardless of whatever you think. I haven't really had a chance to look at the labor what they are asking for. But like I said, I'm a part of a teachers union, and we're already in bargaining.
Mhm.
And right now, teachers are currently getting paid. The last time in Alberta, at least, we're about 36% less than what we should have been paid 15 years ago. When we adjust for inflation, that's not even looking at CPI, and so there's some teachers there that should be making $36,000 more just to keep up with inflation. Meanwhile, politicians sit there. Well, the UCP gave themselves a $500 living allowance bonus. They've increased. If you look at MLA salaries in Alberta, they've gone up almost triple since 15 years ago. But teachers have not moved at all. So I think that yes, and people will sit down and say, "Well, unions are only looking after themselves." Well, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point of it. It's that it's there to offset the fact that businesses have their own thing. Um, because it's well, just look at what's been happening in the United States. Just look at North America. Union supports dropped dramatically since Reagan and sort of that Milton Friedman, um, Margaret Thatcher, that new Republican conservative free market ideas. Wages have stayed stagnant. You can actually see it. Unions are dropping out, wages stay stagnant, and there's record profits being made. And so something's definitely up there, and that's why you should have the union defend your interests and should stand up and say, no, that's like, you can afford it. you should be able to afford it. And yeah, so as I said, I'm very much pro union. I I am the most pro union. I actually think that the government, I don't like the government. That's sort of like I'm a weird one. Lots of people sort of are like, "Oh, you're progressive in that way," and I'm very progressive in a lot of ways. But I hate the government. I think that when we sit down and we look at, Catalonia in the 1930s, they were completely
Mhm.
union led. It was actually for 2.5 years, and then the Franco-fascists came in and took that over. But it was one of the most successful piece of government that had no government. Everybody was union led. And you ended up actually establishing a fairly equitable society. So I listen, I said I haven't had a chance to look at the union's demands, the Canadian Union for Postal Workers, but it's been a while since they've. I think it's since the 70s they've had a strike what 5 or 6 times. So it's we're getting close to that time of the year, and the we've had lots of strikes. We've had strikes with airlines. We've had strikes with it seems like it's dock workers. Rail workers. So it's like,
Mhm.
it's the time of the season. It sort of comes in waves. And COVID really actually screwed it up too, because a lot of negotiating that was supposed to happen in 2020 was pushed back, and now we're having them all kind of line up. So we'll see. But I said binding arbitration. Obviously, nothing's getting through with this. It seems like both sides are refusing to budge. So
Mhm.
there comes a point where we'll see what takes place with this, or what they'll write, what the back to work is going to look like. Are they going to go back to work while the negotiations are going to be binding arbitration? Like I don't know exactly what it's going to look like until I assume Monday, when the labor board steps in, and then
Mhm.
they'll sort of figure that out there.
Yeah, then this labor minister Steve McKinnon, he said like that they have to continue with the last bargaining agreement until like May 2025. Then maybe they will come with a
New.
new agreement. No one knows what should happen. I think they need an increase of 24% in the next 4 years, and also uh, uh, like I think a leave like sick leave or something like those should be 10 days. And they were I think Canada Post pushed them to work on weekends, and they declined like for to working on the weekends.
Mm.
And also like there are some reports suggested that it's time to change the crown corporation to make it privatized. So do you think it is a good idea to convert it to a private to make it privatized?
I mean, if you look at historically in Canada, they'll privatize it and it'll be good for a few years, and then it's going to be just garbage and bloated and taking advantage of things. Typically, the crown corporations that become privatized have like a monopoly. We saw that with Air Canada. We see that with pretty much every telecommunications
Hmm.
business, and you see it what happens in Alberta when we privatize insurance, we privatize
Yeah.
power, we privatize all these things. It's initially there's a benefit, but then the profits start to seep in. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. And I know that some people say, well, it's not turning a profit, but roads don't turn a profit. And then unless if you want to start doing tolls, and now that starts to become like, how many tolls are you going to take to profit off of the road? How many might as well privatize all of our water. Like it starts to get a little ridiculous at some point. So I don't think you should privatize the mail. um I think you can restructure some of it. I think if
Yeah.
you're going to sit down and say, hey, we're going to do weekends, you should pay them appropriately. um and sort of get that figured out. But no, I've never really been a fan of privatization. You see it happen all the time. And then Canada loses out on a lot of things. Petro Canada, we actually had a tangible creation that was making like our gas company. Um, and now that's lost because it's been privatized. So then we don't get anything. Um, and that's that. It's always a bit of a problem, to say the least. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea to privatize Canada Post. Um, And I think that some things just shouldn't necessarily turn a profit. Now, of course, it's not like we're going to make it free. And I think this also opens up a really big can of worms with the problems with Canada's government is that we are quite bloated on almost everything. Like the you look at the postal service in the United States and it makes far more of a profit than like profit margins are way higher in the United States versus Canada. So I find that we do tend to bloat things governmentally. Um, but that's just kind of what we have to wait on. You know, it is what it is, Sammy. I don't think they should privatize it. I think that that'll end up getting janky. But
Mhm.
they're
Yep.
maybe consider a couple different steps, try a couple of things. We'll see what happens with the arbitration and all that jazz, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, but so they are just looking for the short term profit, like just make it privatize, and then just move on to save some bucks. As you gave a good example, like roads does not give a profit to crown or to the government, so you should not build homes. Like we have toll route like in here in Ontario, like they charge some bucks. I don't know like how much they charge. Like the basic, I think it is $14. So like it is just a waste. Like it seems like you are charging taxpayers from taxpayers own money. Like roads are your responsibility, government basic responsibility, that you have to make roads or other infrastructure to make it easier for the citizen to travel around the country or around the province. But when it comes to spending like these politician, it is unstoppable. Like recently we learned Trudeau spent 971,000, I believe, something like that, to traveling 4 day visit to Europe on foods, and some a grand were spent just on DVD. Come on, man. What the hell are you doing? People are lining up at the food bank, and you cannot shy from spending or billing taxpayers on foods, which would it would be enough, like not for 1 day, maybe more than a year, I would say. Like for middle class who work on minimum wage, like it could go like 2 years or 3 years, it would be enough for them. So it is crazy.
Yeah, that whole thing, like the DVD, it's bonkers. It's like we have streaming services. You have Tubi, it's free. Get a Big Mac. You don't need to have like your sandwich. Like you just sandwiches are like $6. It's like you get a
Yeah.
sandwich and then you might be get like a $30. You can go to like a spaghetti factory. You can get something like $30 for dinner. It's like breakfast. You have continental breakfast, some toast. That's Europe, right? Europe doesn't necessarily have really expensive breakfast. It's usually just like bread and butter and cheese. And then like lunch, you have a sandwich, and then at dinner, you have like a $30 voucher, and you can enjoy your spaghetti.
Yeah, but these politicians, like they never shy. Like we know, like Trudeau, it is Stephen Harper time. Like he just complained for a $13
The orange juice,
uh
the Bev Oda.
orange juice, but now he's spending more than that. Like billing every time, like over, like maybe sometime 1 million or $2 million just for his travel expenditures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, so here not national force, Toronto Sun, the PM's 4 day, uh, 918,000 trip to Italy and Switzerland in June, including food cost of 71,000 and receipt foreign $812 junk food run at no frills, and one $102 in DVD purchase from the same the record, man. Come on, man. And people are lining up at the food bank, and we have and the uh other thing is like we what a GST takes relief they've given. Now they are volunteer, like whether business want to put them on
Yeah,
or does not want to. like they have the choice. So come on. What the hell? So how come you can say like you gave a tax relief during Christmas on a certain products, like no one is going to buy during this Christmas for their kids, like uh video games, like which cost $1,000 or $1,500, so everyone just needs good some food to live and to survive, or a shelter to survive. So isn't it crazy?
Well, like this GST holiday it feels so like last minute to try to win
Yeah.
things over because okay, it is now December 14th. People have their presence figured
Mhm.
out. It's like if you should have done this like Black Friday, like mid-November. Hey, we're gonna put a break for 3 months on GST. And then you would actually have people going, oh, interesting. Like that's a plan in September. And then you say, hey,
Mhm.
this is what we're gonna do mid-November. We're gonna put a break on it for 3 months. Instead of December 14th, most people have their presents. Most people
Yeah.
already know what they're going to buy. And
Mhm.
it's kind of ridiculous. And now, yes, the fact that their CRA is saying it's actually optional, it's opt in if you want to do it. Like this is amazing. It is so bad. It is. This is yeah. This is almost like a pure indictment. This is what happens with this party and this liberal government is just absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And now Trudeau is trying to replace Chrystia Freeland with Mark Carney. Like just now he wants to throw her under the bus, as he always throw everyone under the bus when it comes time to need.
Yeah, particularly
So,
women. He seems to really throw women under the bus.
yeah, and despite that, he thinks he's a feminist. You are not a
Yes.
feminist. We know like what you did with Madam Jody Wilson-Raybould and Dr. Jane Pelfort, and there were some other Liberal MP. Even though there is a Liberal MP from Montreal, so she was not allowed to run because she did not defend Trudeau during SNC Lavalin. Yeah, her name is Iwa Nesep, and she there was a video like was viral. She endorsed Pyri Puliar. Like this clearly shows that how much you are a feminist. So you only like those women who only say yes sir, yes boss. They are just yes, yes boss. Yeah, when people like Dr. Jane Polport or Madam Jody Wilson Raybould or like Iwa Nesef, and there is another black MP who quit, like her. They are not yes boss. They always stand up for Canadians, like they stand up to you. Then so it means they get shuffled out and kicked out from the caucus. So you are not a feminist. If you were a feminist, so you would not say anything to uh, uh, Madam Jody Wilson Raybould. You would not at least kick them out, but you did what you want to, just to save your empire. Like you have been in power now 9 years, and at that time, just it was your first term. You wanted to save your position, or what do you call it, like your job to
Yeah.
stay on. So you have to kick them out, so to survive. So this is what happened. So I don't think Trudeau is a feminist, but he is a fake feminist, just by name, like calling himself a feminist.
He's not a feminist. He plays one on TV. It's just like an
Mhm.
actor. Yeah, it's not optimal. And it's quite infuriating to see that all the time. It has always bothered me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now let's jump to uh, I know, like we last time we said we will talk about healthcare system in Canada. How bad is it? Like despite Canada say like Canadians or particularly the government proudly say we have the best healthcare system in the world, but that's not true. If you visit a walk-in clinic, or if you visit a hospital, like as you shared, you waited for 7 or 8 hours just to see a doctor. And particularly there is a tweet, like someone posted that he was like he got a chest pain or something like attack, but then he was released, but he died on the following day due to negligence, what is being called. So this clearly shows that what we have the worst healthcare system in the world. Don't you think so?
I don't think it's the worst in the world. One of the things that kind of irks me about Canada is that we're always comparing ourselves to the United States, and
Hmm.
that becomes a whole thing, right? Like, because it's like it was because we don't spend that money, right? Or like you don't pay out of pocket, and so we always kind of hang our cap, being like, "Haha, good thing we, like at least we're not like the Americans, which have CEOs getting shot and all that stuff that's taking place down there." um, so we kind of it gives us this false sense of security and pride that I've never particularly enjoyed, which makes us ignore the actual tangible problems with it, and that is pretty much all of the the fact that the wait times are long, the fact that it's bloated. And you sit down and you look at different European countries. Canada still does rank, I think, just ahead of the United States, but like it's like United States is at the bottom for developed countries. Canada is just ahead, and then it's like a significant gap between these European countries because a lot of those European countries have two-tier healthcare that you can, if you want to pay, you can get stuff done. There's a public system that is heavily invested, but we tend to sort of freak out a little bit about that. Friends of Medicare will step in. Um, Obviously, we just talked about the ideas of as soon as you start privatizing, the profits start to come in, right? And then depending on what government you have, they'll gut the public one a little bit more, and then we end up having more stuff getting privatized. So that's always a thing you have to be kind of aware of. Um, I'd say I don't think Canada's is the worst.
Yep.
Somalia is probably worse, Sammy.
Hmm.
If I was a betting man, I would say Somalia probably has a worse healthcare system than Canada.
Yep.
Um, Sudan and South
Yep.
Sudan,
Yeah,
maybe
African countries are
Syria.
worse. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
no, but
I
for
don't mean like we have
I
the
know
worst like healthcare system, but like particularly like waiting for 7 or 8 hours,
for a
so
developed,
you don't
yeah,
get a.
I
For
and I
particularly if you compare it to the first world countries,
yes,
like we,
developed
we
countries,
we could
yes,
be just ahead of United States. But other than that, like like when we talk with our family and friends, which are living in Turbat or Balochistan, when we say like we have to wait this long, so they laugh on us.
yeah.
So how come like you have to wait like for that long, when they are like when you see like like someone like so you can visit just a clinic, wait like 15-20 minutes, half an hour. I think I was in a government hospital, not on a government like privatized hospital. We waited once, like maybe 2 hours or
Mhm.
3 hours. That was the longest one. Yeah, it means
Yeah.
it does not take too long, like unlike air in Canada.
So
Like it.
I had a stroke in 2017.
Yeah,
So I was very young. I think I was 25 when that happened. It sort of just came out of nowhere. And of course, because I was having the stroke, I got the triage unit. I got in right away. And because I remember that I saw that tweet with the gentleman that sort of got his ECG, he got his chest looked at, and then was waiting 6 hours, and then he left. He wasn't discharged. They said
yeah,
we'll come to you, and then he just left. And so I had a similar thing happen. Once my stroke, they sort of pumped me full of all these different drugs and things to sort of get my blood pressure down and to sort of stabilize me. I did end up having to wait about 6.5 hours for a doctor to see me, and then run and then check the results and look and say, okay, this is what your blood's looking like. This is what we think happened. You're gonna get an MRI in the next week. And so they kind of like pushed all that there. So, as much as I don't want to sit down and say that guy should have waited, obviously, it's like he had something crazy happen. It's just like his left arm went numb, his heart's beating a mile a minute, he can't breathe. He was sort of trying he's like, okay, I have to go to the hospital. They stabilize him, and then they say just it's going to be a wait. You probably should have waited. Regardless, it's still tragic. It's not something that optimal that you want. To obviously take place. But like I had a similar thing when I had the stroke. I could have left, but I waited because it was a scary scary thing that happened, and I took it
Mm,
seriously. And I was like, "Yeah, I called into work. Everything was kind of under control. I got the next couple of days off, and yeah, it took a few hours to get in and talk to the doctor, but they said, okay, you should be good to go. They gave me sort of the bill of health, which I think, had he waited, we don't know what would have happened, right? He could have had another medical event before he died, then they could have saved him or whatnot. I'm not too sure what the details are with that. So, um, yeah, it's bloated. It is a bloated healthcare system. But this is, and we talk about this a lot on this show, that the government tends to kick the can down the road.
mm,
I think we might have talked about it with the forest fires.
yeah.
But like it's a complete failure. You keep kicking the can down the road, and now you have this population that is heavily aging with not enough doctors, and you're like, oh, we'll just wait a couple years, we'll fix it. And now we'll look at what happens, right? We have a population that is heavily old, that don't have enough doctors. We have a bunch of young people that don't have family doctors. I think it's like roughly like um we did a PD day, a professional development day at the school that I'm at, and we talked about stress and compassion and burnout and all these things. And the doctor, or the person that was giving the presentation, asked, who has a family doctor? And I was one of the few people to put up my hand. I'm lucky to have a family
Wow.
doctor. But it was like most of the teachers there do not have a family doctor. I'd say it was probably over half do not have one. And so like you can sort of think of that as what's taking place. And it's going to be you need to invest a lot into this to make it work. But then you're going to end up having what the government does best. You're going to have a bloated system. You're going to have people, they're not paying nurses well. They're not paying uh, doctors have to go through all this stringent stuff to, if you're a doctor from India, well, that's what I'd mentioned on the show. Like when Uber first came to Edmonton,
Yeah.
I would take a car, and one of my favorite Uber drivers was a foot doctor, and he's just like, yeah, it's going to be about probably another 10 years. And I was like, you can't just take a test. You can't do that. So there's like a lot of proactive things that need to happen, but it's so bloated and everybody's so slow on it. And then we end up with stuff like that. 6 hour wait. The guy got impatient, left, and now he's dead. It could have happened to me with my stroke. I could have left at 4 hours and then had another one and then croaked, right? Like, so those are the things you kind of have to be aware of, unfortunately. And it is a thing that can be fixed, but it's going to take that push of infrastructure. It's going to take that medical infrastructure, which I don't think is going to happen, unfortunately, until it's too late. Similar to the forest fires, nothing's going to happen until it's too late, and then we end up having a bunch of people die for no good reason, and then they'll invest the infrastructure. What are you doing, Sammy? You're moving around.
I'm putting my cell phone on charge. Like if the
Ah,
battery got down, like I
I
was not
got you.
expecting it.
I was
Yeah,
like, you were
that's why
running
I
around.
grabbed
You
my
disappeared for a second. I was scared,
yeah.
Sammy.
My charger was there. Usually it is here with my desk.
Yeah.
So yesterday I put it on the other side. Yeah, and there is another. So now you are all right, fine, like with your stroke. So did you ever uh, eat, eat a stroke or just it was a heart stroke?
It was like my brain, like
Or
half
brain,
my
like
brain. Yeah. So I had to do some speech therapy, but I got in for um, what's it called? An MRI pretty
yeah,
quick. They saw where the damage was in my
yeah,
brain. But they said luckily I got in quick enough that they stabilized it quick enough that it
yeah.
was just like it was almost like a bruise. So I just
Hmm.
had to do a little like brief little amounts of speech therapy, and then I was back at it. So I still have it sometimes where I'll slur my words. It just kind of comes out of nowhere and everyone gets all nervous, but like I'm fine. Like I'm on a bunch of blood pressure medication and all these things. I've gotten healthy too. But like I would say that this is when I look at it. The hospital triaged me. They made sure that I was stable. It took a little bit to get after, but I got the MRI. I got everything covered, and I didn't have to spend outside of the taxpayer dollars. Like that comparable costs in the United States if I didn't have insurance or if my insurance provider said, "Sorry, we're not covering that because you had a pre-existing condition of being obese," because I am a bit of a chubby guy. I
Yeah,
would have to pay that out of pocket, like tens of thousands of dollars. So and that's the problem though, is that Canada sits down and says, well, at least we're not like these guys. It's like, okay, we're the second worst out of 40 plus countries. Like, great, awesome.
yeah.
I'm really happy about that instead of actually tangibly trying to fix it, copying different, perhaps some different models in look at Europe. Like, and it sucks because it's like, yeah, we don't want to have that two-tier system because you're going to end up having depending on what government's in charge, will gut the public one and then privatize that, and it becomes very difficult to try to turn that back into public care
Mhm.
sector medicine. But it's like something has to change. Like we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and be like, oh, it'll get better, and it's obviously not. So as I said, the government keeps kicking the can down the road. I think there's going to be like another big medical thing that's going to take place. A lot of people are going to die, and then they'll do the investment, but it might be too little, too late when that occurs. And then you're going to have the opposite thing happen, where right now we have no infrastructure, and then you're going to have a bloated infrastructure. A lot of the boomers are going to be dead, and then it's
Yeah.
like, great, we have all of these doctors, and it's just there's no thinking, there's no like planning ahead. Everybody kind of thinks in the now, irritatingly, and it drives me off the wall, Sam. It drives me off the wall.
But particularly, Quebec is a different healthcare system as compared to rest of the Canada, or the just the policy different what there as compared to other provinces.
I don't know actually. I think Quebec kind of does its own thing, right? So they might have a different they might have their own standalone healthcare.
But can you, if you are living in Alberta, if you visit here in Ontario, so if you see a doctor, so you have to pay it, or you can use your
Yes,
card.
I think if I have my card, then I'm fine. If I don't have it, then I'd have to pay it.
Mhm.
I think that's what it is. I always have my healthcare card on me anyways, so it's never been an issue. I had to see when was that? I had to see a doctor when I was like running and I like injured my foot, and then I had to see a doctor in Ontario, and then they looked and they were like, oh, "Okay, like you're fine." And I showed the card and it was all looked after. So still took like a 2 hour wait, but it worked.
Yeah, yeah. This is okay, like, but the wait is too long, and some people just can't wait, and some people are put in the waiting list for the surgery. Like during COVID, many people waited, I don't know, like maybe 2 to 3 years for just doing the surgery, and they were escaped, like because many folks did not take COVID vaccine, and they were just what do we call it, dumped down, dumped down, like like
Yeah,
they were
kept down
ignored.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that becomes a thing too, where then we look at the costs from that. Then there's also costs associated too for those that get COVID. Like we see that the damage it does to
yeah,
like long term, like our athletes that get COVID. I think it's like you're there. It's like it takes months for your lungs to get back versus like the flu, which takes days, right? So
yeah.
that has a whole thing there too, and we still are seeing some of the results from that. It's no good. And but this is once again, if you don't have the infrastructure in place and you're sort of kicking the can down the road, now look at what happens, and now everybody's having well, I have a friend that died from cancer because he this was 2020, so COVID happened, and he noticed some lumps in his ribs right at the start of COVID, and he's trying to get to see the doctor, and he's going on the phone and they're saying, well, just keep monitoring it. If it gets bigger,
Wow.
we'll try to get that figured out. And it's getting bigger. And then they're like, well, we don't have time. We don't really have the ability to do a biopsy right now. So it was like, it took him like months to finally get looked at. And by that point, it had spread to his spine. He couldn't sit, he couldn't walk. And that
Wow.
was like a complete failure there, too. Of the healthcare system once again being like, well, we're just going to shut everything down, and now I have a dead friend from that. Um, and they're like, yeah, it's no good, Sammy. It's frustrating, to say the least, the healthcare system up here. Because like, and yeah, he eventually had to go. He went to the United States and
Mhm.
paid out of pocket for treatment because he couldn't. He's just like everything was so slow up here. And that's the thing too. It's like, well, what's one of the common things that's killing older people? It's cancer. And then you don't screen it for young people because you triage it. And then we end up with stuff like that. It said that was 2020. So you can't blame the vaccine. Because I know a lot of people would be like, oh, was he vaccinated? I was like, no, he hadn't get vaccinated yet. So, but like, yeah. And also, guess what? Cancer happens to young people. Sometimes young people get strokes. I had a stroke in 2017.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's the hell, to pretend that it's like nothing bad ever happens to young people is no good. Is silly. Um,
Yeah.
but it is a failure of the system. I'm bitter from it. You know, he shouldn't be dead. But as soon as that COVID thing happened,
Hmm.
he followed all the rules. He did all the mask stuff, and they just kept, no, you're young. It's probably nothing. And then it was obviously something. And
Hmm.
so it frustrates me sometimes.
Yeah. And sorry to hear about your friend. Like
Yeah.
it is hard to lose someone you like a family member or a friend, but due to negligence or lack of care in our healthcare system, this is terrible.
Yeah, it feels like something that could have been prevented, but like I
Yeah.
said, COVID happened and everybody shut things down, and that it's like, yeah, technically I guess COVID killed him in like a weird way if you sort of
Yeah.
think about, but I guess is the response and sort of when you freeze everything down, and yeah, it's frustrating. I have another friend that got cancer shortly after high school, and he pays a lot of
Wow.
it's yeah, that's a thing too. It's like when we sit down, we look at the medication of cancer stuff is so expensive. He showed
Hmm.
his receipt, and had he not had a job, he would be paying. It was like $4,500 for his it's like in the thousands. I can't exactly remember the number, but it's thousands of dollars for his cancer meds, and even having the his health insurance cover it, his private pharmacy insurance, it still was like $700. It was something ridiculous, and he has to
Wow.
pay that out of his pocket, and like that whole thing. And yeah, and he has that forever. Like he has to take this medication forever because I think it's not I don't think it's curable what he has, but it can be kind of managed. So he's fine. Like he sort of functions every day, but like that's another thing there too. Like, but
Wow.
and that's the oncologists. There's no oncologists in Alberta. There's no. It's like it's because nobody does it, and we're like then we're shocked. Oh no, there's a lot of people dying from cancer. It's like, yeah, jerks. Like maybe throw some money at it instead of constantly kicking it down the proverbial road. Drives me crazy, Sammy. I'm
Hmm.
mad. Urgh.
So I need to know, like, as you were born and raised here in Canada, so how it works, like, to encourage folks to be a doctor. Like it seems like many folks uh don't want to be a doctor or don't want to go in these healthcare system. Like mostly are immigrants or outsider who are more interested in healthcare system is compared to who are born in raised in Canada.
Well, it's sort of. It's interesting because the one of the big problems, I know a friend or I know like people, well, CBC did a thing on this about why are there not a lot of Canadian doctors, and it's because there's these weird, it's like if you want to do your residency there, it's super limited. And so there's a lot of people that go to the U of A and they want to stay in Canada, but they can't get the residency because it's capped. And so
mm,
they have to go to the United States, and then they just stay in Colorado, or they stay in Idaho, or they stay in Massachusetts. And so that's a whole thing there too. And that's we can talk about the College of Physicians and kind of how they limit that. But that was what happened to that Uber driver who couldn't. It's because they have to. There's lots of money involved. There's a lot of money that
mhm,
you can get when you cap it, when you make it lucrative to try to get in. If you want to do your residency in Canada, well, it's going to cost you a bit, or and that becomes a whole thing there. There's, I think, a fair amount of folks that want to be doctors, but then they end up just going to the United States because it's easier to get into. Um, and that's a whole thing too. That's a whole bag of worms in and of itself. So as I said, like I think that there's a problem that where we kind of keep our institutions, we don't want to change things, and then in turn we end up with this mediocrity, and it's just very annoying, Sammy. It's very annoying.
mhm. Yeah, but like folks like who are like born in Canada, like just like going to school in Canada, so they never get encouraged to go in healthcare system.
Yeah, I think people like doctors are still held in like a high regard up here. Like it's still like one of those things people want to push you into. Um, but as said, a lot of them end up going to the United States for schooling. A lot of them end up going
Oh yeah,
because of the way that the schools are structured and how they have caps on things. And so
yeah.
you have some Albertans, you have a lot of folks, and they're like, I'll like go to New York, I'll go there, I'll go here because it's easier to get in on there, it's easier to get a residency, it's easier to have everything covered. Um, I have what are they? Uh, like there's a folks from South Africa that are family friends, and it she's a pharmacist, and she's still having to do all the tests even though she speaks English. She's Caucasian, speaks English really
Mm,
well, does all these things, and she still has to do all these courses to get her pharmacy stuff, and she's passing it all. She's just like, I've done this already. And so it's like
mm,
there's just not a lot of common sense here about maybe have that test of like what's your knowledge of this, and then if you pass that test, then you only have to take like maybe a nightly course while doing your residency, and then you get paid, and then you want to stay. um but as I said, nobody wants to take, nobody wants to do things until it's too late. Nobody wants to take
mhm.
initiative. And then we're
Yep,
shocked. We're always flabbergasted every time.
yep. So it mean in the US it is more easier to get in the healthcare system or to be a doctor as compared to in Canada, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think so. That's sort of the vibe that I'm getting. It sure seems like that.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. And let's jump to, I don't know like how much more time you have, but we may jump into back to politics as
Sure.
Trump is trolling Justin Trudeau is the governor of Canadian state, like he kept saying like when they met, it thought it could be a joke, but now it seems like Trump is taking it seriously. Like he posted on his social truth media platform that it was a great to have a dinner with governor of Canadian state a few weeks ago. So it seems like he's trolling what Trudeau did to him. Like in the past, he was always mocking Trump, particularly comparing Pierre Pouliot with Donald Trump and calling him is playing from a Trump playbook. So it means he heard everything and he realized just he kept it for this movement. Now it's time to say it.
Yeah, it's said it's I know that you're saying said he's taking it more seriously. It's still very I don't know, it's still very
Yeah.
trolly. I think he's getting a reaction, right? And he gets a lot of people mad, he gets a lot of Canadians upset, and then he's just going to keep saying it forever. It's interesting though to see sort of the results from the different provinces and different premiers, how they're reacting with that tariff thing. Because in Alberta,
Mhm.
Danielle Smith is investing $50 million, I think, in the border protection for the southern Alberta border. But then we have Doug Ford, who's
Mm,
saying that he's going to cut off electricity if these tariffs go through. So you have like two very different camps. It seems like David Eby in British Columbia is rooting for Doug Ford, while like Francois Legault in Quebec is going with Danielle Smith and being like, we need to tighten these borders up.
Mhm.
So you're already having like an interesting fracture taking place in Canada, and seeing how to react to this. Um, and we'll see what Donald
Yeah.
Trump does. Is he gonna, sit down and be like, "Great work, Alberta. You're doing the best. You're the best province. Danielle Smith, you're doing so good. You should be the governor of Alberta, and you should be able to take it and screw you, Doug Ford. We'll freeze." Because I think it's like 15 million Americans have their electricity run by an Ontario hydro. It's like a ridiculously high amount
Wow.
that have theirs on that
Mhm.
border. And if Doug Ford says we're going to turn
Yeah.
the power off, like what's going to happen there? Is it going to escalate? Like that's really fascinating. And you see sort of Danielle
Mm.
Smith capitulate, and I think they're doing a meeting. Is the premier meeting tomorrow? Is that what it is? Meeting.
I have no clue. Like they had a premier just meeting, so I'm not aware that one. I know like they met with Justin Trudeau last Wednesday, I believe.
December 15th to 16th, the Canada's premiers are going
Yeah,
to
tomorrow they
Toronto.
will meet. Yeah,
So
okay.
I,
So
I
they will
want to
meet
be,
tomorrow and day after.
I need to see that meeting because you have very different responses to Trump, and this is exciting. This is I always thought Christmas time is when politics kind of slows down a little bit, but like this is juicy, Sammy, and I'm very excited to see what happens in the next little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like, but these premiers are not united together when it comes to defending tariffs. Like everyone is suggesting different opinion, as you said. Like Doug Ford said, like he will turn off the hydro.
Yeah,
So and the other premier say no, we are not going to take this approach because we have to like. So Canada needs to sell its oil and gas, particularly for Alberta, so or for Newfoundland and Labrador. So they are not going to turn off the oil pipeline. So
yeah.
it would be interesting how they will go on no on
It's
so
Sunday.
you said
Yeah,
15 and 16.
yeah. So it's tomorrow,
So it's
tomorrow and
Sunday and
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And yeah, it is being held just before Christmas. Like we are just 2 weeks. Not particularly 2 weeks. Yeah, it will be more 2 weeks. Yeah, 10 days. Yeah, listening. Yeah. So so not this Wednesday. Next Wednesday is Christmas.
So quick.
Yeah, 25th.
Christmas is
Yeah,
coming.
11th. Yeah, Christmas is coming. And maybe we will get a tune from Donovan
I'll try.
Extra
I'll try,
for the
Sammy.
Sami
It's
Parvez
so
show.
busy. I know, I know, I know, I know. I'll probably make it after Christmas. I'll make a Christmas one for the break. Yeah, it's just been too much. I don't
I'm just
volunteer
kidding.
for everything, Sammy. It'll break you a little
No,
bit, but
I'm just kidding. Like
I
I
know.
know, like you need to take your time, and we also have a BC by-election coming up on Monday, December 16th. So it could be a clear win for Conservative against their main rival, Liberal, which was held like it is a swing riding as they won it back in 2015. Then Liberal. Conservative won it in 2019, then Liberal won it in 2021. Then now they hold it until the current MP who stepped down and ran for BCNDP. Then he lost his seat to, I think, Conservative. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's all forget because I think now it's like Trudeau's at like an all-time low for all the polling aggregates. That's pretty much guaranteed conservative. It's also fairly right if conservative-y riding, but yeah, I'm more interested in what's happening in Alberta because Alberta's actually having their by-election in Lethbridge,
Yeah,
and that one is going to be
yeah.
interesting because that was
It's a
the
safe riding for Alberta Conservative, right?
so that
United
one.
Conservative.
Yeah, so it was Alberta Lethbridge West. Advanced voting begins now. It's the last day for advanced voting on Saturday. So this by-election is massive because it was a NDP riding. And so it's going to be happening on
Oh.
December Wednesday, December 18th. And if the NDP win it, then that's really good for Nenshi, who's the NDP leader, because then it feels like there's some confidence there in the party. But if they lose it, that's going to be like already an immediate gaff for Nenshi. So that's more of a one to watch. If you're going to watch any by-elections, the BC one is all said and done. The Conservatives are going to win that easy. But if you want to
Mhm.
see an exciting one, I think that Lethbridge West one's going to be the one to check out.
Okay, yeah. And unfortunately, we won't be live on these two by-election. I wish we would be. Unfortunately, I'm working like from 6 p.m. until early morning, so
That's
I can't make it. Otherwise, I wish, like I won't miss these by-election particularly.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We like live tweet it. Though we'll see on Wednesday. What am I doing on Wednesday? Too much stuff. I mean, I could try throwing something together, but if see how that goes. But
Hmm.
yeah, anything else, Sammy? Oh, the Rhino Party. We'll talk about that real
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Rhino.
Yeah, the leader of the Rhinoceros Party, Sebastian Corravos, posted a 40-minute ramble on his YouTube page saying that he's stepping down as leader. This is alarming, Sammy, because I'm in the Rhinoceros Party and I didn't know about it. So that's good. That's fun, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, maybe we
So
need to invite him on our next weekly live show. So let's see what he has to say.
yeah, because like, and yeah, and then yes, you heard it here first, people. If the party needs a leader, I might be the interim
Yeah.
leader to keep it afloat because I don't know exactly what's going on here. I'm a bit alarmed by it. So, worst case, I'll dust off the old leadership belt and put it on and lead the rhinos for a little bit at
I
least.
know. Do you
Yep.
think this? But Sebastian, if you are watching this show and if you are airing, I try to reach you multiple times. Unfortunately, last time due to our internet issues, shame on Rogers, which now we switch to Rogers from another service provider, unnamed, unbranded service provider. It is working very well. We would love to have you on the Sami Parvez show. So if anytime if you would like to, you are very welcome, sir. You can join us and share your thoughts. I watched that video a little bit, and he also shared about like and after 10 years, every party leader need to step down, particularly more Elizabeth May and some other Justin Trudeau and other like MP who are being in power. One mayor, I think, he is in power for 46 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I
the
think
what's his
she's
name?
87 years old.
There was Wilfrid Laurier was prime minister for like 30 years. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was back in the day. But yeah, he's out, and so we gotta roll with that, see what happens.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an honorable thing, I suppose. But I wish I kind of knew about it before he posted about it. So we'll see what happens in the next little bit. It's all up in the air.
Yeah.
We will find out,
Yeah,
my
and he
friend.
also Sebastian complained, like he told me like last time that whenever he gave an interview for 15 to 20 minutes, then the newspaper just post like 2 lines or 3 lines. I said on the Sami Parvez show, we guarantee like every word what you say, it will be on the record. Like I always do if I'm writing a story. If I had a phone interview, I will try to put as much words as I can. Like some journalists just cut out and they will take very selective
Quotes.
sentences just to
Yeah.
make it good for their own work. And also they, like they limit, but it is not okay. He said he complained like he has spent like half an hour like giving his own time, but when they will publish the story, there will be just 2 lines or 3 lines.
Yeah. When the rubber hits the road, those people tend to
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah, maybe if you get a chance to communicate with him or talk to him,
I'll
please
let them
convey
know.
my message that I'm still waiting to have you on the Sami Parvez show, and you can join us and maybe share your story, like your a decade of service is the Rhinosto party leader. Like what you achieved and what do you expect to go on from here. But I need to ask you, like, do you think one day will come like Rhinosto party can elect MP?
I don't think so. I think it'll always be fun to run a bit. There was the one time in the 80s where they'd run two people, and if you combine the vote total, they would have actually won.
Oh.
Um, but it's tough. And I kind of understand too a little bit why Sebastian might step down. What it's very hard to be funny when like the absurd is happening regularly.
Mhm.
The things that we make fun of for the Rhinoceros Party is now like suddenly just it's weird because it's like the things that we made fun of are becoming normal, and that's odd, and that's never good. But I don't know. Maybe there's one day, Sammy. Maybe one day, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's be positive.
Well, we'll see. If I'm the leader, who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows what'll happen if I become the leader? We'll find out. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. I'm trying to get some information from my good friend Sebastian. So
Mhm.
we'll get that all sorted out and see what happens.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think. Do you have anything else you would like to add up?
I don't think so. I think that's all I got today, Sammy. If I'm not on next week, due to my travel, I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas. Nice spend time with the family. Have a safe Christmas. May you get all the gifts that you've ever wanted. And Merry Christmas to all of you watching at home. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Meet
Merry
the
Christmas, down one.
Flintstone.
Merry Christmas, whoever is watching us. We will be back next week. And I'm just trying to set up a time. Still, I'm figuring out my time.
Yes.
And maybe I will get another job. Like I'm trying to go just find another job to easier. But whenever I will have that job, maybe then I will go every day. I will try, and we will have this weekly live show with only on only with Don One Extra.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
we will figure out. Yep.
I'm not too worried, Sammy. Take
Mhm.
care. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I'll see you eventually.
Yeah.
Depending. I might see you next week. I might see you in a few, but I'll see you
Yeah.
again.
You said you will be here in Ontario on Christmas, right? On
Yeah, for
Christmas,
the Christmas
December.
time. I think probably till I think this. Oh, I think I have the email here. Um, let's see here. Email from my wife. Travel is confirmed. So yeah, we leave Saturday. We're back Sunday, December 29th. So from the 21st to the 29th, I will be in Ontario.
Okay, so you may need to figure out one day.
See if I can see you, my friend, and we could do it live.
Yeah, we may do a live.
That would be pretty
It
fun.
would be fun to do a live together.
It, it would be in person, no less. We'll see,
Yeah,
Sammy. We'll see.
yeah. Okay. Okay, Danwan, thank you very much and thank you watchers. And if you did not subscribe our channel, please do subscribe it and share it. And we will be back and stay tuned. And thank you very much for watching. And thank you very much, Danwan. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Take care.